Good evening, everybody. Hope everyone is doing well. Hope everyone is enjoying the week so far. I'm actually not live at the moment, which I'm sure you can tell. I am doing this pre-recorded. It is Saturday, the 12th of July. And given we hit a new all-time high yesterday of 119,000 or just under, one of the things that I was interested in sort of reviewing was just where we sit on some of the topping indicators on chart analysis that I talked about at the cuddle back in February of this year. So I thought what we'd do is we would run through some of those, see if any are heating up, see if any are actually telling us that we're anywhere near the top, and just to give us some sort of indication potentially of how long we've got left until we are going to get close to that top. So without any further ado, let's just dive straight in. And I'm going to start with this chart. I've seen this on Twitter. I've actually also seen it posted in Discord. This is the Bitcoin chart on the weekly time frame. I must stress it is the linear. Normally when you look at the charts with myself, it's on logarithmic, but it does make a bit of a compelling case right now that I think we at least need to address as our starting point for this evening. And the point that everyone is trying to make is, look, 2017, 2021 twice, not quite in 2024, but where we currently find ourselves at the moment, Bitcoin has hit this upper expanding line and then has actually entered into a major correction. I was going to say a bear market, but I think the right term would be a major correction. And so the alarm bells at the moment ringing are we about to experience the same? Are we getting caught up in the hype in and around Bitcoin's new run up to not quite 120,000? And actually all these other projections, 150, 200, 250, however high you want it to look, are way out of line, and we're actually poised right now for that correction. And let's just start with this. I said that later on we're going to talk about some of the other charts, but let's just start this. So I'm just going to take these away. So obviously this started back in 2017, just above my head. You can see sort of this price action in around this. This is where the first line really started. And then what we had is in 2021 with the double top, so one in April, one in November, this line, this trend line, sorry, it weekly time frames, you've got to give it a little bit of a pinch of salt, but it kind of respected that very well. And don't forget, in both of these occasions here and here, people were calling for a lot higher. And what happened? We had major corrections, 50% and then an 80% correction, sorry. And then what do we have? So we get to sort of beginning of the year, sort of after the Trump pump in November 24, we get this move up, and we near about hit this line again. We don't quite do it. We have a bit of a double topping pattern, similar kind of topping pattern to what we see back in April of 21. And we have that correction from 110 down to 75. Effectively, what's that? $35,000 correction, about a what, 30%, 33% kind of correction. And then we've had that recovery back up, and we're running smack bang into that line as we speak at the moment. And I do respect the similarities there. Double top happened in 2021, and both lines rejected off it and came back down. That is currently playing out at the moment. But where do we really draw this line? It is on the weekly time frame, a relatively thick line, I suppose. And we could tidy it up. We could, grab this line here. And maybe go, no, you know what? Let's try and tidy it up. Let's try and, take the bodies in rather than the wicks. And the bodies take it there. And then actually what we find is, assuming that this candle in the next day and a half close is above it, this is actually the first time we've closed above this line ever. So there's definitely a sort of counter argument. I think there's a little bit of, magic arts in terms of where you want to draw this line. If you want to try and line it up with where we currently are bouncing at the moment, it does have some wicks in April, but it doesn't have them in November, and we don't get them in January of this year. So I respect what people are saying with this. I respect that they're it's potentially worth a moment of your time just to consider, check yourself, make sure that you're not getting too excited with how your portfolio is looking. But the reality is we'll be data driven. We're always going to be data driven when we're talking about the weekly time frame, because we need 7 days for each candle to play out, and a lot of stuff can happen in and around there. What would we want to happen? Bear in mind linear time frame, and this is a confirmed breakthrough. We want to see that retest, don't we? We want to see it retest in and around on that as it happens. But yes, this candle you know, for the bullishness of this trend line, not to then get worried over the next couple of weeks, we want to see it stay above about 114,000. Let's go at 114,500 just to be on the safe side. So yeah, sorry, I've also just realized, if you just bear with me, didn't have my face cam on. There we go. So with that in mind, maybe now is an ideal time just to go over some of those on-chain indicators that I ran through at the cuddle. Now, I went through about 17 of them at the cuddle. I've listed them here. I'm not going to go back through the video. There'll be a link in the description, and if I can work out to do it on YouTube, I'll put something in the top right hand corner that links to that video that was put out on Simon's channel back in February after the cuddle. However, what we can see is this chart here, and the chart was very basic at the end. It was just putting them in order after I scored them with a bit of a scoring criteria as to which were the more reliable ones. And it's actually fair to say that the first 10 are fairly reliable, actually. They have served as well in 2011, 2013, 2014, 2017, and 2021 tops. And so we should be looking towards those. As we get a little bit lower, there's levels of accuracy start to dip. But again, this chart is available in Discord, as are all of the links you can see in column D. You just click on those and it'll take you straight to them. So we're just going to work from top to bottom, see where they are. I'm not going to explain how each of them work. If I do, this is going to be a much longer video, but I will just sort of summarize where they currently sit in terms of what is required of them. So the first one we're going to look at is the 2-year moving average multiplier. I do apologize, it's on CoinGlass. It's not the best of charts because I can't interact within it, but effectively all we're looking for here is previously anytime the price gets above the red line, we are getting close to a top. In 2021 it just hit it and then rejected. So anytime we touch it or get above, we're getting warm. That's the thing that we're really looking for. I'm going to zoom in on the chart now so that we can kind of see how that looks now. And you can actually see right now we're at 116,500 when this is last taken, which looks like it was Thursday actually. So before that moved to 119, so there's still a bit of data. But actually right now, wildly, this price is saying that the 2-year moving average is going to be in and around 329,000. So we are well off where that needs to be. Now it is a moving average, so it goes up and down, up and down. So we may not be at that high, it might actually get lower, but this is certainly not anywhere near being heated up right now. We're going to have a look at the next one, which is the pool multiplier. So again, what are we really looking for here? Price action is in black. We're looking at the orange, okay? The orange squiggly line. And anytime that gets close to or inside this red zone, and I just need to get the figure out, I can't remember off the top of my head what it is, but if I touch on this, it'll tell me it's around about 3.4, I think. Off the top of my head, 3.5 maybe. Anytime we get the pool indicator above 3.5 or on 3.5, we have then started to see the start of that major correction. So 2013, 2011, 13, 14, 17, 2021. And we're well off that at the moment. We're actually sitting about halfway through. Bearing in mind we're all-time high. Granted, this is from Thursday. We've got plenty of time to get there. And even if you do take into some account that there are diminishing returns, I can't draw a line on this annoyingly. You have to imagine a line. Maybe I can draw one in the edit going through. We're still probably looking at this needs to climb up to, anywhere sort of to around about 2 minimum, even if you're taking that the head and the edge. So we've got plenty of time in which that can happen. And don't think, this can't, because each time, even when we've been down in these lows, we've made all-time highs, but we've still not got from the pure multiple point of view to a point in which that is actually signifying we are hot and we need to concern ourselves with this. With that in mind, we'll move on to the third best indicator, which is the MVRV score. And again, what are we looking for here? We're looking for, don't worry too much about the realized cap, which is in blue line. In fact, I'll take that off. It's not necessarily relevant for this. We've got the market cap. So this is the total market cap of Bitcoin, but it's effectively a fair indication of the Bitcoin price, and the chart looks very similar. And what we're looking for is the Z score, so market value, realized value, the DMV and the RV. And we're looking for it to spike again above 7 into this red zone. And anytime it has done that, it's indicated the market tops. And again, as you can see, we're only down at 2.4. Now, don't get me wrong, this will spike fast. You know, when we were in 2013, we were at 2.4. You know, we were, I don't know, 2 months away from it peaking. Again, when we were down here at 2.4, we were less than a month away from it peaking. When we were down at 2.4 here, we were 3 months away from peaking. So this can peak very fast, but right now it hasn't peaked. We haven't seen that sharp move upwards. So again, right now, if we're basing it on the first 3 on-chain analytic technical analysis, the top isn't in yet. We can have a look then at net unrealized profit and loss, or NUPOL. And again, this one's a little bit better on the eye because it kind of gives us the levels. So the red zone is euphoria and greed. Then we've got, well, let me just get rid of this for the moment so we can see. Then we've got belief or denial, depending on which way it's going. Optimism or anxiety, hope and fear, and capitulation down at the green zone. Now when we put the blue line on, because this is actually what we're interested in, we can see that it does peak into the euphoria and greed at and where the tops have been in the past as we go through. I'm going to take off BTC's price just so we can see where we are at the moment. So we are currently in the lower regions of the belief phase. So we're not at euphoria yet. And I think that's fairly, I mean, except for the last 24 hours, there really hasn't been that much hype around Bitcoin, even though it sat 24 hours ago above 100K for the best part of 2 months. There were those that believe in it, but we didn't have the euphoria of your hairdresser telling you what was happening. So again, there's still room to run. And although this doesn't spike as quickly as the MVRV Z score does, it can move fast. So don't get caught out by this. It's currently at 57.5%, and we need to get it to, I think it's 75% is where we've seen those turnarounds in the past, assuming that it plays ball this time as well. So definitely another one to keep an eye on, but we're not there yet. Another one to just keep in our locker. Terminal price. So terminal price is fairly easy to look at. Again, we're just looking at the red line against the Bitcoin price as previously, and you can kind of see very similar to where we were with the 2-year moving average. Effectively, when price comes up to this line, most of the time it has broken through it, but for very short periods. The last time, actually, we just touched it. We slightly broke through it in and around there. That's when we're going to see price in a time when we need to be concerned about it. And currently that is actually sitting right now as we speak at 237,000. So, you know, pretty much double where the price currently is at the moment, which again, plenty of time for this one to potentially play out for us. We then got the golden ratio multipliers. This one's a little bit of a fidget because you can kind of see that the lines kind of deteriorate after each cycle. So when you go on the far left hand side, you can see the cycle top, and then after that ran out, it just becomes a dotted line because it doesn't play ball anymore. So what we're actually left with currently at the moment is the 2 level and then the 1.6. Now, the ×3 was the one that hit previously. You can actually say that the November 2021 did take out that 1.6, and I think that's something to bear in mind. And we have actually had this one taken out, potentially invalidated, back in, let me just find it, 27th of March 2024. So when there was a bit of a retail push towards meme coins, moving everything up, altcoins really benefited from that. So there is definitely a potential that this might not be a pattern that works anymore. But assume that it is, we're currently only at 117,000, and this price could be anywhere from 138 to 172. Now, they're the first 2 that have actually started to get a bit more closely aligned to where I think we're possibly going to end up. But if we're going to stick with it's, you know, the next one down that's going to drop, that would be the 2 on this golden ratio. And there we would be looking at 172,419 as it currently stands. But as we know, this will move and dip as it goes up, or as time goes to the right, should I say. But again, we're not there yet. And I think that's the key point that I'm going to be making across most of these. Back onto coin glass, unfortunately, with the ones that don't work out so well. And we've got the Bitcoin Mayor multiple. And on this one, we're just looking for the spikes above 3. And again, it has been diminishing returns throughout. So you may argue that we may only see 2.5 on the Bitcoin Mayor multiple this time. We'll just have to wait and see. But the point is, it's spikes, it's sharp movements up that we're looking for. And if we just move this down to the right, we can see we're only at 1.22. What we were talking about in the past was a 3 is where everyone has previously done. Even if we need to get it to a 2.5, we've still got double that room to go. Now, that doesn't really give us a reflection on where Bitcoin's price is going to go. But what it does say is we're not there yet. So it's, again, not necessarily something that we need to be concerning ourselves, because this indicator is telling us the bull market is still currently on. And to be fair, the last 6 other indicators have done the same. But again, the spikes can happen suddenly. And I've talked about it for what feels like the last 4 months. You know, the 4-year cycle is coming to an end. It will end one way or another, either correctly predicting the top or busting through it and just meaning the 4-year cycle doesn't work anymore back end of this year. Whether you think it's October, November, December, I don't know. Let's give it till December 31st, which then gives it perfect leeway all the way, that plus or minus 30 days from December the 1st, to really see what it kicks in. But those spikes can really happen in a short period of time. Even though we only have a short period of time left till the end of the cycle, things could still heat up that way. Pi cycle, this is one that people love. Worked well in the past. And again, we're just wanting the cross of the 2 lines, the green and the orange, where we currently sit at the moment. And don't forget, the cross of the 2 lines are just the moving averages. They're not indicative of where the price will be. The price will be wherever the price will be. But the cross indicates, you know, within 3 days that that's the top. And if we zoom in on where we are at the moment, you can see the yellow line or orange line, however you want to look at it, it's starting to tip up, but we've still got quite a distance between us. These 2 elongated range periods have really helped flatten that out over the last few months. So for those 2 to cross, we actually need price to start to skyrocket, and relatively quickly, so that can really sort of just kick up this orange line. But again, we're well clear of the top if this indicator is still working. Delta tops, very much like terminal price in terms of its visualization. Slightly off because when you get to 2017 and 2021, it didn't quite reach it, but it did get close, you know, give you that warm and fuzzy feeling, I suppose. This isn't one that I would recommend you use on its own. But again, you know, we're not there yet. The Delta top price is still at 236 to 240,000 band level. So double where we currently find our price at the moment. Value days destroyed. So this is an interesting one because in the past that has given us a pretty good indication of just movement of tokens, selling of aged tokens as well, and where that it's going. But then something happened in 2024 where we saw a lot of old tokens getting sold or moved. And, you know, my views, I said this at the cuddle video, and I've said this in the past, likely because of the start of the ETF and the mass amount of selling from Grayscale in which they had accumulated tokens over a particular length of time. So maybe this is invalidated, but we'll still stick with it. We're not really too bothered about how far up the spike goes. It's just about, are we getting a red spike? That's really what we're looking for and a point of concern. And I'd say that even if you did sell at the end of March in 2020, particularly your altcoins, you would have sold in an absolutely brilliant position, because most altcoin portfolios are not as well as they were at the end of that meme coin run in 2024. So still a pretty good indicator from that, even though I'm talking Bitcoin in the chart and altcoins in the conversation. But yeah, we've had a few orange, but nothing significant. And again, now that we've got a new all-time high, it will be interesting to see whether or not we actually start to see that orange climb up as people do sell to take profits. Coindays destroyed. It's a similar kind of thing, but this is just sort of the movement of the coins. The chart looks ever so slightly different, but we're still looking for those spikes. We've seen the spikes in all of the cycle tops previously, but we have seen them a couple of times in and around this cycle, particularly around the ETFs and the November election. So we might be feeling that this one is slightly invalidated. We are on the way up, but it's going to be really hard to tell. Even if this spikes, it's going to be hard to tell, because the last 2 times that this has spiked up, we have ranged and then we've made further all-time highs. So this one, I think, is losing its credibility. I'm not sure how it's going to really kind of gain that anymore, particularly with what's happened over the last 18 months or so. But it was one that we talked about before. Then we've got the Bitcoin rainbow price chart. There's a couple of these, the original one, and then we've had to add extra colors to it just to try and make this fit better. So I'm just going to scroll down to the current one. I think that's, the one we should really be looking at. And what we can kind of see is the peaks have kind of always happened in the red and the reddy orange zones in the past. And so even though they are dropping down, we would expect to see this in either the reddy orange or just the orange zone itself. And I'm going to try and scroll along to the date where we roughly think it's going to be. So let's just do it, beginning of December, that'll do. So we could be talking anywhere from, 150 to 245,000. Nice small range to look at, but they are 2 bands there. But it's definitely something to think about. We're kind of in this meh territory where we've been before, and even with all of that exuberance, we don't get to the orange. So we have been rejected from this yellow level before. We need to bear that one in mind. And obviously the colors just represent the brighter, the hotter it gets. The more you should be thinking about selling, and the colder it gets, the more you should be thinking about buying. Moving on to the RODL. And what do we have here? So similar to MVRV and a few of the other ones that we've sort of shown in terms of how the chart is laid out, we got price in black. We've got the orange zone, which is the RODL ratio. And what we've seen in past cycles, again, is those moves up. Now, the reason that this one is so far down on the sort of pecking order is because not only did 2021 not get into that red zone, it did peak, fair enough, but the December 24 move up after the election pretty much got to the same levels. And so it's very difficult to really suggest that this one is really going to signify the top, because even if we do get back to a similar level or red, we've actually know that we've been at that height before on the RODL ratio, but the price actually continues to get higher. So a tough one really for us to use, probably not one I'll refer to going forward. What else have I got here? I'm just trying to have a look. Nope, don't need that one. And then good old Google Trends, just to see where things are. So 100% was like, how Google Trends work is that's like the most it's ever seen. So that's why it's banked at 100. That was in and around December 17. And then we kind of see there was one September 19, which is just after a sort of a mid-cycle pump up to 14K. And then we've had the 2 peaks in 2021 before it started to cool off. We have seen large peaks again around ETF times and around election times, but its current level, we're not really seeing it. And we really need to be getting closer towards that 75%, in which we can say that maybe there is enough retail in there for us to start thinking about exiting our bags. So going back to this, I think the reality of it is that we are, as good as price now looks at 118,000, 117,000, and whether or not it goes up or down, the on-chain technical analysis is not indicating that this is a cycle top. There's none of them that have actually suggested we're anywhere close to a cycle top. Now, I do accept that maybe they're all wrong this time. Maybe this time is different. But until we've proven it's different, the only thing we can do is go off the things that have worked in the past and just always have in the corner of our mind that they may not work this time. And as I pointed out to you before, and it is tagged in Discord under the Avenger channel pins, you can just go through and have a look on CoinGlass's bull market peak indicators. It has a lot more than the 17 I go through. So you can click on the charts and have a look at how they look. But right now, it is 100% hold. So nothing gets hit or, distance to hitting. Nothing is close to really getting there. I suppose RSI, which I didn't cover, is at 84%. Bitcoin dominance is at 98%, but actually I think we want to see that come down to prove that actually alt season is running through. But yeah, definitely worth just having this one saved in your library of saved pages, just so you don't have to go through that rigmarole. You can just go here, and if you can't even be asked, you can just have a look, and that will give you, I don't know how the maths is applied and the formula is applied for this ratio, but even if it's not, you got hits or not down here, and nothing is hit yet, so that's certainly a good indication to take it through. Just finishing with a little bit of charting, just with where we are. Daily time frame, I appreciate this is a couple of days early, so I'm going to try and keep it nice and light. We saw that move up to 119,000. We're now cooling in around 117,000. It is the weekend. Just to bear in mind, a couple of things which probably will play out on Monday when the market's open, but I won't be around to talk about it. Trump's coming out with a load of tariffs for Canada, Mexico. I'm sure China will be next on the chopping block. He's, probably humiliated and embarrassed, so he's banging the drum a little bit about, any reciprocal tariffs will be met with even bigger force, all that kind of stuff. Be interesting to see how the market plays out on that. Two other news events that are going on right now. Saturday, Pump Fun ICO launched. Let's see if I can get that up whilst we're talking about it. And that feels like a real sell the rumor. Sorry, buy the news. Can't even get it right. Buy the rumor, sell the news. Bloody hell, third time lucky. Type event there. And I think Bijan put something in Discord that, don't even go in a couple of hours. And within the first 2 minutes, it had already raised $500 million. It's not wanting to load up for me for some reason, but you'll just have to take my word for it. Oh, here we go. Come on. So this does feel a little bit like traffic retail. Market makers have had access to this for a couple of days. It officially launched on a Saturday, which we know only crypto's in town when that's going on. So just be careful with how this may play out over the next few days. Just remember what happened with the Trump meme coin, from nothing to 80 billion and then back down to 10 billion or whatever. It was wild. So yeah, bear that in mind. There won't be any live stream at all on Friday. Apologies for that, but I won't have the equipment out with me, and I'll have two screaming kids on holiday. So I couldn't think of anything worse than trying to do a live stream then. But we will back to all things normal the following week. Other than that, all it leaves me really to say is enjoy the rest of your evening, enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll speak to you all in Discord. Cheers now.